Look at this. This was in AP this morning. In Burkina Faso, a growing number of children are traumatized by war. And of course, Charles is talking about the Sahel. This is talking about the Sahel. I just want to remind everybody again about British interference in this part of the world. Not just British interference, French and US as well, but the French and the US are increasingly being kicked out of these parts of the world. But remind everybody of the Conflict, Security and Stability Fund. This is a big tranche of money that the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office issues every year. And when you look at its full name rather than its acronym of CSSF, they have a comma between the word conflict and the word stability. That comma is, in my opinion, absolutely misplaced, because this money is all about making conflict sustainable in these regions. So this is just one example going back to 2018 to 2021, £5 million in this case to be used in Mali, Niger, Chad and Burkina Faso. Now, if we look at Mali as an example, which is just north of Burkina Faso, we've seen that the government of Mali has been kicking out NGOs funded by France. But coming back to the CSSF, just have a look at the sort of number of projects. This is just in 1 year, all in the Sahel area. And of course, everywhere you go, everywhere you see this money go, you see conflict and you see disruption. This is ReliefWeb again. Charles already have them on the program. CSSF money going into stabilisation of the Stabilisation CSSF program. Stabilisation activities in Niger, in this case, in support of the Nigerian government stabilisation strategies. This is complete nonsense. So look at FCDO Spending.uk column.org to get an idea of the amount of money that the FCDO does spend on these types of projects. Let's not forget that Tony Blair Institute for Global Change is absolutely excited about this region. Now, I know I'm just going to finish off by showing this short video clip. I know you've seen this before, but just a reminder of this. This is going back to 2018, when both Ursula von der Leyen, before she became president of the European Commission, was at the Munich Security Conference. Tony Blair was there as well on the sidelines and speaking in completely different settings, but on the same day, they made, it seems like, comments from the same script. Let's just remind ourselves.
First of all, our collective defense, we are ironclad committed to NATO. NATO of 29, that is collective defense Article 5. But there are problems and issues where I do not see NATO, but Europe has to be able to act.
That though this transatlantic alliance with America is extremely important and we need to maintain it, the best partnership is a partnership where we have our own capabilities that are also strong.
I was talking about Africa. This is not a typical place for NATO. We are very committed to NATO in other places, but Africa is a place where we need to be able to act as Europeans.
For example, one of the things that my institute does is work in Africa, and at the moment we're particularly focused on the Sahel group of countries. That's that band of countries across the north part of sub-Saharan Africa, where you've got exploding populations, dire poverty, radicalization and extremism. We may well face the next wave of migration and extremism from those countries. It makes perfect sense for Europe to have the military capability to help those countries with their security.
And for that, we created the European Defence Union, right, to have a comprehensive approach with diplomacy, economic development, and the military means.
So, Vanessa, very briefly, CSSF money is going into these countries. These countries, rather than it bringing peace to these countries, it brings more conflict, it seems. And in the meantime, we've got the European Union seeing Africa as being its southern neighbourhood, and we've got the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change seeing it as being its playground. We gotta feel sorry for the people on the receiving end of all this.
Yeah, I mean, the CSSF, as I've always said, is basically there to secure perpetual war and instability, basically. And it's a fund which has zero transparency. Most people don't know, even within Parliament, where that money is being spent. For Tony Blair, I mean, I think what we're seeing at the moment is, rather than an arms race, we're seeing a commodity race. It's a race to control as much of the world's commodities as possible. And of course, Africa is high on the target list.
Yes, okay, thank you for that. Now, we're just going to end with a comment on the new currency, which has been released in the United Kingdom, because, of course, King Charles' head is now on the money, if we can put that on screen. And there it is. Doesn't it look fetching? Now, I realize this is possibly going to discourage the use of cash in this country, because who wants to walk around with his head in their pocket? But I would just say, this is just the bug we've got to bear in the meantime, until we can do something else and get somebody else in place of him. So please don't let it put you off using cash. We don't want to head into a cashless society. I think I would understand if it does cause reluctance, but we've got to fight these feelings and continue using cash. And we'll leave it there for today. No doubt we'll be talking a bit more about that in Extra as well. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. Thanks to Vanessa and Charles for taking part. We'll see you in a couple of minutes if you're a UK Column member for some Extra. Otherwise, 1 p.m. tomorrow for the interview with Clive de Carl, and we'll see you 1 p.m. on Friday for another UK Column News. See you then. Bye-bye.